Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning and welcome to Faith in Our Hometown. I'm actually not Father Jay Friedel. I'm Aaron Brown. I'm pastor at St. Paul's United Methodist Church. I'm filling in, sitting in for Father Jay, and I'm so glad to be here. And this morning I'm here with Kaden Props. And Kaden is a music director at a local church. He is a student at Missouri Southern. And we're going to talk a little bit about, stick with us here, theological reflections on church music. Now it's going to get exciting, I promise you, because we may actually, have to fight this one out. But we're going to be talking about music. We're going to be talking about how it's an expression of faith, how there are so many different ways to express our faith through music, and sometimes how those ways get in conflict with one another. It's going to be interesting. Stick around. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome to Faith in Our Hometown.
Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., and now we have an effective tool to screen for it. A low-dose CT uses a lower amount of radiation than a standard chest CT.
Breathe in.
Better detailed pictures than a chest x-ray of small abnormal areas of the lung. A person must be between 55 to 77 years old, asymptomatic, which means they don't have any symptoms such as coughing up blood, chronic cough, shortness of breath, unusual weight loss, or any other worrisome symptoms. They must also be a current smoker or have quit within the past 15 years, also must have a 30-pack year history or more, which equates to smoking 1 pack a day for 30 years, or 2 packs a day for 15 years. People generally avoid these scans, possibly due to fear of what could be found. Like many other cancers, if we can detect lung cancer early, it could be very treatable and life-saving.
Welcome back to Faith in Our Hometown. I hope you're having a great Sunday morning. I'm here with Kaden Props, and we're going to talk music for a little bit. This is not my specialty, but we're going to talk a little bit about it and how churches differ in so many different ways, and the theological understanding. In theology, we should probably talk about what the word theology means. It simply means thinking about God, how we think about God, how we process God. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been on the show before, but tell us a little bit about your background.
So I've been directing music since I was about 15. Took over after...
So that's like a year? You've been doing it for a year?
Yeah, like sadly no. I'm 21, so I've been doing it for 6 years now.
So young.
And it's a lot of fun. It's truly a passion that I didn't know I had until about my senior year of high school. I took over for our pastor. I came from this little small church in Purdy, Missouri, and so our pastor was also the music director. He loved doing that, and he sadly passed away very suddenly, and so I kind of took over. I thought it was just going to be like a part-time thing, and then just did our Easter and Christmas choirs for several years, and then moved over here and was very blessed to have the opportunity open up to direct at First Community Church here in Joplin.
How do you, as a 15-year-old, direct a choir? What kind of experience did you have, or some divine inspiration to do that?
Well, it just felt like a calling. It was one of those he passed away in August, and so we had a little bit of time before we started really doing Christmas stuff, but I felt it as a calling to, not have that be put on the sidelines for a year, because he was very close with every one of us in the church, and so it was one of those things where, we didn't want to just let our grief kind of take over what we were doing in the church. And so I stopped the interim pastor one day and I said, hey, I would really like to do this if you trust me with it. I think it would be great for all of us to have it, and they let me take it on. And so my high school music teacher actually helped me out just a little bit, because I knew the basics. We had talked about that.
You were probably in a choir in high school. Okay.
Yeah, and so I picked some easier stuff to start out, and so since then my music library has grown, my knowledge of it of course has grown, but that's kind of where I started out. It was just a small stepping stone with a, I think it was 20-person church choir, and just went from there.
Yeah. So growing up, what kind of music were you exposed to? What kind of music did you enjoy when you were a little kid?
So
Do you
Church,
remember?
like church-wise, or
Just in general.
In general, I have to thank my dad for this. I have a wide variety taste in music. I mean, he listened to everything and anything, and so did I. I listened to country. I listened to classic rock like he liked. I mean, I was exposed to everything. And then in church, we had a lot of like the classic hymns. I learned how to read music from a hymnal with the shape notes and all of that. So that was just kind of my bringing up was, and at that time, we were still pretty small, and we all laughed because we liked the same few songs that we always did. I mean, we had this list of like maybe 25, 30 songs. And
How Great Thou Art.
Exactly.
Amazing Grace.
Leaning on the Everlasting Arms, those good old Southern Baptist songs. And so
Old
that's
Rugged Cross.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up on all of those, and
I did too.
yeah. And so those were great, and that's what I kept doing for a long time. Yeah.
So then something happened, and you had an opportunity to be a choir director here in Joplin at First Community.
Yes, and so I just kind of happened across that one day. Someone stopped me and said, "Hey, are you looking for this? Because I heard there was an opening coming up." And I said, "Yeah, I think I would be interested in that." And so I just called up the office at First Community and said, "Are you willing to accept like a student's, application?" And they said, "Sure, come in and do an interview." And so from there, I mean, it happened one right after another. I had 2 other interviews after that, and then that next month I was directing their choir.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the music of First Community. What is that like there?
So I kind of talked about this last time too. I've tried to do a few different things. When I first got there, it was right in the middle of Christmas season. It was my first Sunday was the first Sunday in December, and so we were gearing up for Christmas, and so I started doing just a few things that I knew would be different but fun for the church. And so one of them that I talked about last time was like an African kind of melody that they took Christmas words to, and so that was really fun. It was different for the choir. It was different for me, and it just kind of dipped our toe into something a little bit different. And so since then, I mean, I only got to direct them up until about February, and then of course, the entire state closed down and all of that. So I just had a few months with them as a big choir. But since then, I mean, I had my old high school, their audition choir come over, and we did a spiritual that we both learned, and so I got to teach that to the high school choir, and then I taught it to my choir, and we all came together and sang it, and it was a lot of fun. Something different again that they don't really do often there before me.
So it sounds like the church has pretty much, it might be labeled a traditional sort of music selections. Is music there mostly driven by piano and organ or a band? Or
It's piano and organ, and we do sing out of hymn books. Okay. And the choir always, before COVID and stuff, we had a prayer response that the choir would do, a call to worship, and then a benediction. That was all the choir. So yeah.
Well, so that leads me into the bigger question of the theology of music. Yeah. So how would you describe those two phrases put together, those two words, theology and music? How do they come together?
I honestly think of that as it's an interpretation for each individual. I mean, truthfully, it depends on how you worship and how you feel God through you. I mean, I'm a big believer that there are certain things every now and then that you could either get out of the message or you can get out of the song that's presented that morning. My dad sadly passed away in the summer of 2019, and I, of course, remember his funeral and I remember the message, but the thing that stuck out to me most, we had some family friends sing, and they sang, "Oh, how sweet to rest in the arms of Jesus." And I mean, I had heard them sing that before. It never kind of, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was great, but it was one of those like, yeah, they're singing it on a Sunday morning. But in that moment, that song probably touched me more than the message or, what family said or friends said, coming to the funeral or visitation. That happens with everybody, I think, every once in a while.
So what you're saying there, to me, it sounds like music speaks a different language.
Definitely.
So what is it about music? Why do we have music? Why do we need it? It seems like as humans, it's just a part and parcel of who we are. Why?
It's just a natural human emotion. I mean, there's an entire book of the Bible that's dedicated to songs. And so...
the book of Psalms.
Yeah.
The book of songs.
Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things that humans are driven by music. There's a special connection there, and whether everybody has that super deep connection or whether it's something that they can just feel and have some relaxation or relief in, to each their own, truthfully. I mean, I, of course, feel like I have a stronger connection than some, because my entire life is involved around music. Yeah. And so I think that's just how, each of us can connect. There's different songs, there's different styles, that everybody has, but I think everybody can connect to it some way or another, and so it's just human nature to want to gravitate towards music.
What I have said, found myself saying, and I'm sure I'm quoting somebody here, but is that music is the language of God. Mm-hmm. That it's kind of a language that transcends our words and our culture. I mean, definitely music is culturally related, but there's a way that music pierces through the ordinary in some spiritual way. And I wonder, I wonder what people who are not people of faith think about when it comes to music, because even people who are not of faith experience goosebumps when a certain song comes on, or some part of their brain lights up when they hear a certain kind of music. I just think it's the language of God in so many ways.
It's beautiful, and I think that talking about the big aspect of music in church is truthfully how people can relate to God through it. Because, I mean, there are some people that are definitely not like me, and they like the new contemporary stuff. They like the praise and worship. And so if they identify with that type of music and style, and that's how they get their message through God and, through their service, then that's great for them. Not everybody's accustomed to that, and I think that that's really hard to see for some people. It's either black and white. You have this way that you listen to music and, get your God from it, or you have this way. And I think there's different ways that we can all do it together. I mean, and that's even taking an old song like Leaning on the Everlasting Arms, let's take it for an example, and you just have that melody that you play on the piano and organ, but if you can take that and you can kind of turn it into something a little bit different, add a band behind it. It's still that song that you grew up knowing and loving, but it now has this different style, this different tune, and so it's kind of taking the old with the new and mixing it together.
Yeah. For me, I grew up in very traditional church with Alice Coleman on the organ or Mike Quimby on the organ, and I loved it when they would hit those deep bass notes. I guess they played with their feet too, the deep bass notes, and I could feel it in my chest. And it wasn't necessarily a spiritual experience for me, but it was like, hit the low ones.
Exactly.
I want to feel this, and to feel that. And I think today, the way I feel that is, a little more contemporary, a little more modern, but I like to feel my music, not just to hear it. I know some people don't want to feel it. It's too loud. Yeah. But either way, I have a sensation.
And the people that say that they don't want to feel it because it's too loud or something still feel their music through different ways. I mean, we can talk about that all day long, really, is everybody connects to music one way or another. And I mean, I laugh because I was fortunate enough to have my great-grandma and grandpa basically until I was 18, and they passed away. But something that I always laugh at was my great-grandpa. He was very country. They lived on a farm, and I'm not like that as much, but he and I could relate because he liked listening to the Sons of Pioneers and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and stuff like that. And so we had that connection, and
we'll talk more about that in just a minute. We'll be back with Faith in Our Hometown after this very brief Mercy Minute.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
I am here with Kaden Props, and we're talking music, specifically church music, and we just had a little discussion about the theology of that, and God, like I said, what I believe is that music is the language of God. But let's talk about the varieties of music that are out there in churches. And, so I've been a pastor for almost 30 years now, and so I have seen, and I've been at one church for 26 years now, so I've seen this drastic change in music within the congregation that I serve. You know, going from where we had big choir in robes, organ, not a big pipe organ, but an electronic organ with big sound, bell choirs, all that sort of thing, going from that to a very modern band. And what we call it in some of the circles that I've been in over the years is the worship wars.
Yeah, definitely.
That you know, people will that are longtime churchgoers, they will allow lots of different changes and be up for all kinds of different new things. But when you change their worship music, people can get really, what's the right word? What am I looking for here, Kaden?
I personally temperamental. That's what I think.
I didn't want to say it. I made you say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why is that such a big deal for people?
I think because everybody, when they go to church, you know, it's knowing God, having that foundation of this is what I expect when I go to church. This is how I expect to get my God. That's how I describe it. Is this is how I get my God. And I think a big part about that too is there's some churches, and I'm not saying all of them, but there's some churches that make that change a little too quickly. They have a new music minister come in, or they have, you know, some people that play the band, and they come in and they change it. And I think that's really hard for some people to wrap their head around because it is so quick and it's a very drastic change. And you know, it's one of those things that you've got to take time with it. You really do. And
well,
you know,
I'll tell you how we did it at our church over time.
Yeah.
Was that we started with a little band, and they weren't on the stage; they were on the floor.
Yeah.
And they did their thing like once a month, and then it was every other week.
Yeah.
And then we moved them onto the stage, and this took months and months and months. And we didn't have like some master plan to do this, but we just like, okay, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And then it was every week at one service, and then every week at both. It was just this gradual thing, and still it was hard. You know, it was hard for me being a traditional boy growing up in, you know, with Alice Coleman on the organ and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and see, that's something that actually drew me to First Community. Was that, you know, traditional style that I was used to growing up, and that's what I felt comfortable with. And so I definitely had that connection when I was able to join the staff there. But, you know, and I think that's a great way to approach how you do things. And there's still going to be some retaliation, you know, no matter what. There are going to be people that oppose change, just in everything.
Yeah,
that's
oppose
what's
change
going to
sounds
happen.
better than retaliation.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those that, you know, you've got to take time with it. And yes, there's going to be some people that don't like it. And I mean, there's some churches that just have broke down and said, okay, we're going to have an early service that's traditional, and we're going to have a later service that's more modern and contemporary.
Do both.
Yeah, and best of both worlds. Yeah, but I mean, then that's kind of, you know, stretching out your, you know, pastor if you just have one pastor, and then all of your musicians who's having to turn around and learn several different songs a week. And so that can be tough and challenging, and, you know, great for that church if they want to do it, but trying to ease people in, I think, is a little bit, you know, a little bit on the safe side, because you can take time, you can learn the music together, and it's not such a, okay, here's a new song, we're going to put it up on the projector, good luck singing along. I've seen some churches do that, and those are the churches that have a really hard time keeping members.
Struggle,
yeah, because they want to attract that younger audience, because they're traditional, you know, they've got probably an older generation that's coming into their worship, and so to bring in that younger generation, you've got to add a little bit of the new into it. And that's the hard part, is how do you find an even balance? And kind of like I was talking about, there are some times when they can take that older song and kind of jazz it up, however you want to say it, and, you know, kind of keep the best of both worlds. But when they start doing that new contemporary stuff, it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be a fight. And if that's something that you're set on, you've got to be ready for it, truthfully.
Well, you know, in all the changes that happen and are happening in the world of church music, you know, one of the things that I find myself reminding pastors and churches of is that the stuff that we call traditional now was new at some point.
Exactly.
And you know, Martin Luther 500 years ago, what did he do? He went into the bars and heard the drinking songs.
Exactly.
And said, hey, these are great tunes. People know how to sing them. Let's redeem them and help and use those tunes with a message that actually helps people understand the God who loves them. And it's created a whole revolution in church music. And but that's sometimes the music that we codify and say, this is the stuff that's always been around. And then in our tradition, the Methodist tradition, John and Charles Wesley did the exact same thing. They went into the bars, they heard the songs that people were singing, and said, let's redeem some of these songs. And of course they wrote original stuff too, but let's redeem some of these in ways that still catch people's ears and their minds, and then let's also capture their hearts.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, is people don't realize that was, I mean, bar songs were met with a lot of retaliation, you know, because I mean, they're sitting there, they're listening to these songs on Sunday mornings, and they think, wait a second, you know, I just heard this in the tavern, and I mean, but even, I mean, you can even look at some of the older ones that we still know and love today. I mean, these were also songs that were sang in fields by African Americans when they were enslaved. And, you know, a lot of people, especially in the South, when they started bringing that music in, were very opposed to it. And so it's going to be one of those things that no matter what, you can keep going back and keep going back. There wasn't a set way of people singing a certain way in church, you know. I mean, yeah, they had it for a little bit, but there's going to be change that comes along no matter what. And so I think it's just...
What I think when it comes to church music and change is that it can't be changed for its own sake.
No.
And it can't just be changed to attract younger generations. It's got to be changed, especially when it comes to music and how oriented towards our hearts it is. It's got to be changed that's based on a clear mission and reason, that we're doing this because, you know, we feel led to speak a new language to a new generation. That might just be another way of saying, we want to attract younger people, but it really is about language.
Yeah.
And if we lose our relevance in our language, you know, as people of faith, what are we doing?
Exactly. And I think that's a big question that we constantly ask ourselves is, what are we going to do next? And it's not always, you know, we've got to attract a younger generation. It's how are we going to connect with our church? How are we going to connect with our family, you know? And so I think it's one of those things that we always have to keep in the back of our mind is this for the good of the church, or is this just to please the people? And
or to please God.
Exactly.
You know, an even bigger picture there.
And so, and I think that's what the good of the church is we've got to please God by, you know, doing what we feel is right. You know, whether the church likes it or not, you know, at the end of the day, it's got to be what's going to happen next, and how are we going to continue to bring people closer to God. Yeah.
Well, what I've come to believe is that there's not a right form of, just like in the secular world and secular music that I listen to, you probably do too, it's not a right form of music.
No.
And in the church world too, we need churches that are doing traditional, that have those roots and keep that fire going in tradition. And we need churches that the music, it's jumping music from the beginning to end. And I like to go to different churches in the area. And, you know, from Roman Catholic Church and Father Jay's church to, you know, James River Church. I've been there. You know, just, and the difference is good. And that we can do music well in lots of different styles.
Oh yeah. It's one of the best things that I love about having, you know, so many different churches in the area is you get your, you know, different fills, you know, if, you know, do I need contemporary? Do I need traditional? Do I need a little bit of both? I mean, that's what's great about having so many people that understand the need in our community. So I think that's just one thing that we've always got to be on the lookout for is, you know, what are we going to do next? How are we going to continue to speak the word of God through music?
And why are we picking the music that we pick?
And
one of the things I love, we have a new music director at our church, and he loves to take ancient music, you know, stuff from the 800s or the 1400s, and tell us the story behind it, and then bring it into a modern context. And I tell you what, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so absolutely beautiful in so many ways. So I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other, I guess, is what I'd say. It doesn't have to be traditional, doesn't have to be more contemporary or modern or
how you feel God through music is how you need to worship.
And I tell you what, as a preacher, as a pastor, the moments that are most meaningful to me, because, you know, when I'm up there speaking, I'm kind of doing a thing. It's the music. It's the music that makes a difference to me.
Yes, definitely.
We should sing. You ready?
Oh,
Praise God from whom all blessings flow.
Yes.
Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. There we go.
Yeah.
See, you're Baptist. You don't know that so well.
I do know that song.
You do?
It took me
Okay.
a second to know what you were singing.
All right. So we got to talk a little bit about music. We got to
Yes.
sing together. How crazy is that? They're
Yeah.
probably going to cut this episode. But what fun. I love talking about this stuff because
Yeah.
I think it matters, and to know that we're speaking that language when we tap
Definitely.
into music, we're speaking the language of God in so many ways, or listening
Yeah.
to it and being moved by it. And hopefully some of our listeners our viewers have experienced that today.
I hope so.
Crazy.
I really do.
Well, thank you for the work that you do in so many different ways, and good luck as you wrap up your education.
Thank you.
You're in your final year at Southern?
One more year, hopefully.
One more year. And that is a degree in
Music education.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So what do you hope to do?
Who knows, really? I would love to teach for a while, maybe make it into the college world. So, yeah.
You are amazing.
Thank
and
you.
at your age to be doing what you're doing, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And Kaden,
Thank you very
props.
much.
Well, that wraps us up for today. We're going to go into one more Mercy Minute, and I'll be right back to see us off into the rest of this day.
Blessings and greetings of mercy to you. My name is Anna Nichols. I am a Sister of Mercy and currently the leader of Heritage and Spirituality at Mercy International Association. I love the fact that sisters throughout time have gone where they have been called to go, and they have often picked up ministries that they never intended to pick up. 25 years ago, there were 22,000 Sisters of Mercy globally. Today we're down to about 6,200 with Sister Rock and some of the others. But despite the fact there are 6,500 or 6,200 sisters left, there is an amazing number of women and men of mercy who are working alongside us, and that continues to expand, and for me that is incredibly exciting. So as far as National Catholic Sisters Week, I really look at the legacy that they have passed on, and the fact that so many women, men, young people are living mercy today. That really is for me what's significant.
So I just pulled a James Corden on my guest tonight, or this morning, Kaden, props. We did a little singing a minute ago. But the whole idea of why music, what is it about it, why is it such a part of the faith journey? It's been great talking to Kaden this morning about that. And just know that wherever you go, there are a lot of different churches in this area, a lot of great places to worship and to connect to God. The music's going to be different in every one of them, and so many of them have excellent music that you can listen to, connect to God through, and experience something within your own soul. So I want to encourage you, go find those places. And if you go to a place and like, hey, that's not my style, go to another place and check it out. God's at work in so many places. But it's been great being with you on this Sunday morning. So have an amazing week, and hopefully you'll tune in next Sunday for Faith in Our Hometown. It's good to be with you today.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.